we really do reach a niche market.
Oh, definitely.
And people, it's really hard for people. They're like, well, are there a lot of cowboys in your cowboy churches? Not really. Because there's not a lot of cowboys left.
Right.
To be honest with you. There's not a lot of cowboys left, but there's a lot of people that grew up watching The Lone Ranger. You know, that grew up watching Roy Rogers and Gene Autry, listening to Dale Evans. There's lots of people that have just kind of, who didn't play cowboys and Indians?
Right.
You know, and they just identify with that. And what we do is we've got a bullseye approach, and we aim, every single thing we do is that working ranch cowboy, like you would have seen in Lonesome Dove. We aim for that every song we sing, every word that comes out of the preacher's mouth, down to the decorations, down to the toilet paper, is geared towards that working ranch cowboy.
Right.
Do we hit that very often? Very seldom. Very seldom. Because number one, there's not that many of them out there.
Right.
But number two, that's a hard nut to crack. But in aiming for that bullseye, we hit the rodeo cowboy.
Right.
And then we hit the people that like to go to rodeos. And then we hit the horse people.
It's a ripple effect.
It's a ripple effect. And so our working ranch cowboy, the person we're aiming at, is the absolute smallest part of who we reach.
Right.
But when you start aiming for somebody, that he's the common denominator in all of this deal. And so when people stop aiming for that real true cowboy, then they're not a cowboy church anymore. They're a horse people church.
Right.
Or they're a rodeo church. Even though they might call themselves cowboy church, the ones that have been very successful have stuck to that. And where most churches have a gymnasium with a, they might call it their conference center or family life center or something like that. We have arenas. We're not going to play basketball. We're going to have a team roping.
Right.
And, our kids aren't going to go play ping pong. They're going to go and they're going to get on calves and ride them like bulls. And, everything is just geared towards the cowboy church.
Right.
Or towards cowboys.
That culture.
That culture.
Yeah. Tell me, if you will, briefly, your conversion. Because I read a little bit of your background. You were a
beer drinking, snuff, dipping, cigarettes, smoking, wild and crazy.
Sure, and your wife wanted that.
Yes, actually she did. My wife was raised in a very strict household, and anyway, she just kind of wanted to have some fun. And I was raised in the church, but like a lot of people, I was single and cowboy and let's party hardy and stuff like that. And so we got together, and then she had 2 kids. And so I kind of I had some more responsibilities when we got married. And so she was actually playing the piano for a little Baptist church that my great-grandmother was a founding member in.
Okay.
And so we started going to church, and, I was like, does anybody ever, go to church every single Sunday? That was kind of my attitude, but her dad was a minister, so she was raised in the church.
Sure.
And, she, one day, and this actually happened, I was like, honey, I don't really feel that great. I think I'm going to stay home today. She goes, if you die, you'll already be at church, and we'll just have your funeral there. Get up. So I got up, and I went and everything.
We got to use that.
They said, they had been saying that there was a cowboy church. Now, I lived out on a ranch 30 miles from nowhere, and Pecos was one direction, and Fort Stockton, Texas was the other direction. We went to church in Pecos, and they kept saying that there was a cowboy church that had started in Fort Stockton. Let's be in prayer for them. Okay, we'll pray for the cowboy church. And so they actually took up an offering one day, and we helped and everything. So I finally told her, I said, and I dressed just like this to go to church. I said, let's go visit that cowboy church. And she's like, okay. So we made some arrangements for somebody else to play the piano. And we walked in there, and it was like Shangri-La. I mean, there was people actually dressed like me. They wasn't in 3-piece suits. There was kids running around with ropes trying to rope a dog in the church. Now, granted, their church would look just a lot like this without all the supplies out there.
Sure.
Cement floor, metal building,
sure.
No pomp, no circumstance. And I'll never forget the first cowboy church sermon I ever heard was talking about a rope. And the guy took a rope that you rope cattle with, and he threw it out on the floor. And he said, a lot of times we try to be good, but that's like pushing this rope. And he starts walking up that rope, and he said, try to get our life in line like Christ wants it. And he said, it just wads up. Nothing happens, right? And then we get frustrated. He said, but if we'll give the end of our rope to Christ and let Him follow, and he took off walking, and that rope just lined up just right. He said, that's your life if you let Christ lead it. And then he pushed it all back up, and it just wadded up. And he said, that's your life without Christ in the lead. And I thought, I can understand that.
Right, made sense.
That made sense to me. I could see something, I could understand it. He put it in terms, it wasn't these big fancy church words and everything. And of course, I'm looking at my wife, and she's like, oh, here we go. Here we go. And of course, my wife was really raised pretty religious. So she's like this, waiting for the lightning to strike everybody for being, blasphemous and everything. I mean, there was people dipping snuff in there. And, I mean, it's just one of those things. And even now I tell people, I'm a cowboy preacher now. We started going to the cowboy church.
Right.
We went back to our regular church. I said, let's go visit again. I was like, come on. I was like, come on, I like it there. Just go visit. She said, okay. So anyway, all of this happened, and fast forward, then I said, I want to go to the cowboy church.
Right.
So
that's what you call it, the cowboy church?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I want to go to cowboy church. It was actually the Pecos County Cowboy Church, but just call it cowboy church. I want to go to cowboy church. She said, okay. She was just happy that I wanted to go.
Sure.
So she's like, look, if you want to go to church, I'll go wherever you want me to, as long as it's Bible-based, Christ-based.
Sure.
And so we went in there, and I just got involved. I started helping with the arena team, putting on little play days for kids and stuff like that. And I could feel God tugging on me. And all of a sudden, I didn't feel bad for walking into church. I felt encouraged. Used to I'd go into church like, oh, I'm a sorry sinner.
Right.
But when I walked in there, it was the other way around. I was like, you know what, God? I know I'm a sinner, but I know that you love me. And so one night...
He's not mad at you.
He's not mad at me. He still loves me. So one night, God was just mashing on me real hard. I could feel Him on my heart. Hey. It's like, what? And so I called my wife in there, and I said, honey, could you come in here, please? She walked in there, and she was looking at me out of the corner of her eye like, what do you want? I said, would you pray with me? She took a deep breath, because she said she knew. She could see. And so we knelt down in the bedroom. And I said, Lord, I do not know what you want with a sorry cowboy like me. I've sinned more than anybody else I know. I am the least worthy of everything. But I know that you died for me. And the least I could do is live for you. So I don't know what you want with me, but I'm yours. I don't care what you want me to do. I'll do it. I don't care where you want me to go. I'll go. And if you can use me, I'm yours. And that was it.
Yeah.
All right, God, thanks. Enjoyed it. And he did. I mean, all of a sudden things started happening, and our pastor left. He got another job. And he asked me to fill in. I was like, no way, I ain't no preacher. I'm just a sorry cowboy.
Right.
Remember that sorry cowboy part? That's me. And he's like, God said it was you. And so I was like, okay. And I'm like, God has a sense of humor, obviously. But he knew what was coming up. And I said, no. And finally I said, okay. So I became a cowboy preacher. And anyway, then he moved me from Texas to Colorado. And I've never looked back. And I'm still the sorry sinner.